Creation is simply to bring glory to God. And when I think about it, the time that it came so kind of this tangible, practical, in my bones type of feeling was after October 7th, where the terrorists invaded and killed 1,200 people and kidnapped. But they also burned all the fields. And Israel relies on our own agriculture for around 90% of what we consume. And so it's a tiny country the size of New Jersey, and we grow over 90% of our fruits and vegetables. And this is part of the biblical prophecy that the desert will bloom. And so when all those fields were burnt, suddenly there was a real crisis of how to get food even. And so the city of Sderot, which is right next to the Gaza Strip, was evacuated because it's too close to the terrorists. You know, these terrorists are less than a mile away from the city, so they evacuated a lot of them. And there were some elderly who decided, okay, I'd rather die in my home than live as a refugee. And so they didn't evacuate. But that means that there's no supermarkets open. There's no social services. There's no neighbors to check on you. And so the fellowship went and brought food to these elderly who stayed in the evacuated cities. And so I remember before I went, I was nervous. These cities are under attack, both of terrorists and rockets. And I remember my daughter coming to me and saying, Mommy, are you sure you want to go today? Aren't you scared? And I said, you stay home and say Psalms for me, because that is my shield of protection. And you know what? If there are elderly who are living there every day, I could go for an hour to bring them food and be protected. That's my calling. That's my obligation. So I went with the food box and I went to the elderly's home. And the first elderly that I went to, all she talked about was looking out the window and seeing like the Hamas terrorists outside of her window, that 3 of her neighbors were killed, that she watched as 2 of her daughters were running to a bomb shelter and the terrorists were shooting at them. So she just stayed at her home and prayed. And I gave her the food box and she took out a carrot and she looked up at the heavens and said the Hebrew blessing, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, Bore pri ha'adama, which means, blessed are you, Lord, master of the universe, who gives us vegetables from the earth. And I realized as I'm sitting here and all the fields around her are burned and she's alone in the city and there's no supermarket open and her friends were killed, that this carrot from the ground is the biggest blessing from God. And suddenly I understood kind of what nature is.
It was giving testimony of the goodness of God.
Yes. That I thought about this carrot and the seed that was planted and the earth that it grew in and the nutrients to make it grow and the person who picked it, and that I was left in the beginning of the day. Do I choose to even have this carrot live out its destiny of getting to this elderly who needs it? We're all connected from that person who plants the seed to this woman in Sderot, to me who had that choice to bring it to her or not. And I feel like that's kind of life, right? Yes. We always have choices. God says, I put before you life and death. Choose life. And we're put in those situations every day. Are you going to go out and do good? Are you going to make the right decisions? Are you going to forgive someone who hurt you? Are you going to go out even at your own risk in order to save someone else's life in little ways and big ways? It can mean also vulnerability. Someone hurt you or betrayed you. Are you going to go out and say sorry, even if you didn't do anything in order to make amends?